Scandinavians. Oh, hello there. I know, right? Whose that I have to fondle to get my very own web series? I can't tell you, but it rhymes with Lark Buckerberg. Anywho, let's get into today's special reading of Hamlet, a play I had to study extensively during my time at Harvard University, where I earned my PhD in the culinary preparation of baby pandas for the sole purpose of feeding them to Jake Gyllenhaal. Hamlet was a work written by William Shakespeare, you know, the dude who wrote that other play about cross-dressing. It deals with several important themes, such as masculinity, revenge, and why you should never let your daughter within 500 feet of Brett Kavanaugh. I'm just kidding. That's Tess of the Derby Girls. Anywho, let's jump right into Act 1, Scenes 1 and 2. Our story starts off with a bunch of guards outside in the middle of the night. Their names are Bernardo, Francisco, Marcellus, and Horatio. And apparently all of their parents had some weird fetish for Italy. Anyway, they're having a hard time seeing each other as they change shifts for the night because it's darker outside than it is in Bill Cosby's basement. They're all of a sudden talking about a bunch of recent ghost sightings when suddenly the ghost of King Hamlet himself appears before them. Now, while many believe that Hamlet is a work of fiction, I have, in my extensive research, managed to obtain actual footage of the moment where Horatio saw King Hamlet's ghost. Let's take a look.
Stop! I could have dropped my croissant!
It really do be like that sometimes. Anyway, pretty soon the ghost makes like Alexander Hamilton's dad and just vanishes. And so Horatio was left to explain to everyone all that's happened before the king's death. You see, back in the day, old King Hammy iced this dude called Fortinbras in this big old war with Norway. And his son, also called Fortinbras because people hadn't invented creativity yet, was now hell-bent on going Floyd Mayweather on everyone in Hamlet's kingdom, Denmark. Just when he's finished with all the exposition, King Hammy's back. And he still won't say anything when Horatio tries to talk to him. Why is Horatio the only one trying to talk to him, you ask? That's because he's the only one who's educated. Because it really do be like that sometimes. Anywho, pretty soon, their attempts to communicate with the ghost are interrupted as a rooster crows and it vanishes, preventing them from trying any further. Guess you could say it's a real block. You get it? Because the rooster is also called it. Never mind. Regardless, the guards decide among themselves that the king definitely would have stayed had his son, Hamlet, been there. Because as we know, it's all about the fam. Let's move on to scene 2, which opens with a speech from the resident king bag, also known as Claudius. In this speech, he says that in the wake of his brother's death, he did the honorable thing and knocked up his widowed wife, which, if nothing else, is just a blatant violation of bro code. Anyway, when he's done weird bragging about this, he says how young Fortinbras has been hitting him up lately, threatening to bust a cap up in Denmark. So, Claudius dispatches his two stooges, Voltabrand and Cornelius, to go hit up Fortinbras's uncle, so he can talk him out of it, being like, "You good, bro?" Meanwhile, this dude called Laertes, which I've decided is not a real name, so I'll call him Larry instead, asks if he can dip, so he can go back to France, probably to start a baguette-themed revolution a few centuries early, where all the dissenters will be waterboarded in fondue instead of decapitated. Regardless, the king and Larry's dad, a dude called Lord Chamberlain Polonius, are like, "Yeah, dude, whatever." And so he starts to head back. Finally, we're introduced to our hero, Hamlet the Younger, whose facial expression says something to the effect of, "If you're looking for a smile, this ain't it, chief." Anyway, Claudius is all like, "Now listen here, son, I'm basically your father now." To which Hamlet is all like,
"You're not my dad!" But
in his head. Regardless, Claudius then goes on to say, "Listen, you shouldn't keep mourning over all of this. It's not the manly thing to do." You know what? You're absolutely right. You know what's more unmanly though? Violating bro code! There's the worst thing you can do! What is wrong with people nowadays? I mean, what kind of stupid Sorry about that. I was having an aneurysm. Anyway, back to our story. King Claudius and his wife, Gertrude, such a horrible name, implored Hamlet to stay instead of going back to school. And Hamlet agrees reluctantly, while knowing that he would actually rather lobotomize himself than stay anywhere near these two. Regardless, they go off to celebrate, and Hamlet is left to himself to give a long speech of all the reasons his life sucks. Among them, it's immoral to commit suicide, his parents were still madly in love when his father died, and, perhaps worst of all, his mom is now banging this dude who's probably lacking in the performance department. Regardless, all of this is happening before Hamlet encounters his old friend, Horatio. See, Horatio was Hamlet's home slice back in school. So when he pulls up, Hamlet's all like, "Bro, what you doing here?" To which Horatio's like, "I'm always here to support you, dog. I'm here for your dad's funeral." And Hamlet's like, "Oh, true. Are you sure you're not just here for my mom's wedding, though? Because that would be seriously f***ed up." To which Horatio's like, "Nah, dude, I was just in the neighborhood when that was, going on. And plus, I can't turn up free food." Major mood, Horatio. Major mood. Regardless, eventually the subject of Hamlet's ghost daddy comes up, and so he, naturally, is excited by the prospect of communicating with the dead, or whatever it is angsty young adults do at night, besides the obvious. Regardless, he agrees to go help this band of buffoons go and find a ghost. And that is the end of Scene 2. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to join me next week when we go in depth into Scene 3, where we get a formal description of all the reasons why Hamlet is unf***able. Thank you, and come again.
Deadpool. Deadpool.
That definitely wasn't eggnog.